Hi there, Tim Weber with the Weber Addiction Group and Weber Sober Homes. And I wanted to take a quick minute to share with you how I came up with the idea to start Weber Sober Homes and the Weber Addiction Group. Somewhere in the neighborhood of being clean and sober for 5 years, I started getting involved with some stuff in my county, in Carroll County, and immediately saw that there was a need for addicts and alcoholics coming out of rehab, coming out of jail, and coming out of hospitals to have some long-term recovery, to get that kind of, no pun intended, but that shot in the into recovery to help them in their first year of recovery. And a sober house is in my opinion imperative to that first part of recovery. When I got clean and sober, I went from a hospital to a sober house. I stayed there for 6 months. I had 6 months clean and sober before I talked to a sponsor in my recovery meetings and moved on to the next step. And so that's kind of where it came from. I actually went through a sober house in 2003 in Baltimore City on Linwood Avenue. It was a guy that owned a few sober houses in that area, and let me tell you, living there, being drug tested, alcohol tested, curfew checked, and basically people made sure I went to meetings in my early recovery was crucial to me being where I am today, coming up on almost 8 years clean and sober. And I can tell you, up until 2003, I could not stay clean and sober. I just couldn't do it. I would go into rehab, I would come out, go right back into my own apartment, move in with family, move in with friends, and immediately slip away from the program, my 12-step recovery program. And next thing I know, I was drinking a couple of Budweisers, going to a football game, going to a baseball game, and then I was back in the city with a needle in my arm and living in an abandoned house and living the life that I had grown accustomed to in my addiction. I started out, like most people, drinking and smoking weed in high school. Was not an issue, wasn't a big issue. I didn't get good enough grades to go to Johns Hopkins. Was a pretty good lacrosse player, and went on to be the leading scorer my senior year in high school. But I probably graduated somewhere in the very, very bottom tier of my high school class. And so I wasn't getting a scholarship, I wasn't going anywhere, and I eventually went off to a school in Texas. And once I got there and was out of the care and watchful eye of my father, so to speak, I kind of just ran amok and eventually fell into some harder drugs, which eventually landed me in black tar heroin in Dallas, Texas, Houston, Texas, and that's where the progression of my disease took off. That was somewhere in the neighborhood of the age of 25. I spent easily from 25 to 37, the majority of that, 75% of that time in those years, homeless, in jail, in rehab, addicted to heroin. It was a tough battle, and I finally came to myself November 8th, 2003, walked into a hospital, told them I was suicidal, and I was, but it's a game we play. And I walked in there, and they let me stay for 3 or 4 days, and I went from there to a sober house. I got connected with a group of guys in this sober house in Baltimore City, not 5 blocks from where I used to shoot heroin, but I was at the point of desperation that I was willing to do what I needed to do in 12-step recovery, and my life started to get better. So I went through that sober house. 6 months later, I moved out, eventually got married, was able to buy a home. So 5 years sober, when I was doing some stuff I do around in Carroll County, I saw a need for some sober houses. So through the guidance of some other people, a network of friends I have in recovery, my wife and family, we decided to start Weber Sober Homes. The reason I chose Weber Sober Homes is because for the majority of my life I was ashamed of my name. Not because of my father, not because of my brothers, not because of my family, but because of Tim Weber. I was ashamed of it because I was a lying, cheating, manipulating, conning snake in the grass when I was hooked on drugs. And For once in my life, at 5 years sober, I felt good about myself. I felt proud to say my name because of the stuff I was trying to do and the life I was living today. And so a lot of people, I think, wonder why is it your ego that made you call it Weber Sober Homes? Well, it wasn't. It was the fact that I finally got to the point where I was proud to be Tim Weber. And I know there's a lot of people out there maybe watching this, a lot of people if you're watching it, that you can tell that you can pull yourself from the gutters and the depths of hell living on the streets of Baltimore, Dallas, any city that you're in, and you can pull yourself out of it and be proud of who you are and have a life beyond your wildest dreams. I'm coming up on 8 years clean and sober this November 8th, and let me tell you, life does not get any better than it is today. So until we meet again, just wanted to give you a little kind of backstory on how Weber Sober Homes got started. So, till we meet again, peace. And if you want something you never had, you got to be willing to do something you've never done. I heard that from Isaiah Robertson in the House of Isaiah in Maybank, Texas, and I live by that quote. If you want something you've never had, you must be willing to do something you've never done. For me, that was surrender to the program that I'm involved in 12-step recovery. I'm a good friend of Bill W., and it has changed my life, and it can do the same for you. Peace.